Right. Well, sort of the segue to today's a poem, little poem, really, little poem. Susan had, it's called The Little Book. You know, little things add up. And, you know, the recovery movement in this country, the 12-step recovery movement in this country, it's really amazing. And it's so many lives it's saved. And it's really amazing in that it's truly the addition to the whole it's the Americans arrow in the quiver of spiritual practices. It's our unique addition that came out of American experience of being so addicted. You know, we do have our, we do have our things to add, and we know about addiction. And so this is the one thing that really, all the other stuff we're have access, all our other arrows in our spiritual quiver are coming from 4,000 years ago in Asia or the Middle East, or other traditions that are very, very old. And but this is the American tradition. So I was thinking a lot about it as I was reading the book, and then I actually turned it into a poem. Uh, the first step is basically admitting you can't handle it. You can't handle whatever addiction you're dealing with, and that you need something. Basically, you need something bigger than your own ego power to deal with this. Something bigger, and then the steps follow. When you get to the 11th step, it's to you're trying to cultivate a closer relationship with your higher power. You need, you can call the higher power, if you're comfortable with the word God, you call it God, or, whatever you're comfortable with. But anybody who's trying to kick an addiction knows, your ego is what got you addicted. So it can't undo it. So you need something more. William James, in the variety of a religious experience, when he referred to the higher power or God as the more, something that's more than your own ego, you see. And so might take a while to get to the 11th step, where you actually cultivate, through meditation and prayer, a deeper relationship with this higher power, which is, not easy. Most people, it's not even on the radar screen. I think it actually falls all the way through. Because if you're going to go for if you're going to make the first step, you've got something bigger in your ego that gets you to go to that. And then all the other steps, I think it's channeling what the 11th step is. So to me, it's the next step. So here's today's poem. It's called The Next Step Program. You can be in a 12-step program, and lucky if you are. They had a Workaholics Anonymous one, I'd be in it, or Egoholics Anonymous one, I'd be in it. But this is what I call the Next Step Program. Just a short poem, 12 lines, a little poem in honor of the big book and the higher power. It's my job to help other wayfarers clarify and metabolize the thoughts and emotions that arise at each step of the journey. It's not my job to correct, direct, fix, or heal anyone along the way. The Great Way itself will do all of that. My job is helping you take the next step. Show up every morning for your rendezvous with the beloved. You let go of all the other gods on the Great Way from mind to heart. My job to help other wayfarers clarify and metabolize the thoughts and emotions that arise at each step of the journey. It's not my job to correct, direct, fix, or heal anyone along the way. The great way will do all of it. The great way itself will do all of it. My job is helping you take the next step. Show up every morning. Show up every morning for your rendezvous with the beloved. And you'll let go of all the other gods on the great way from mind to heart. Let's open this up a little bit. It's my job to help other wayfarers, people who are along the way. You wouldn't be here if you weren't on some kind of journey. I think everybody, conscious or unconscious, and most people I think are unconscious, are on a journey. They're on the spiritual journey, like it or not. When you become conscious of it, that's a plus, for sure. How many people really see this journey through this incarnation as part of a bigger spiritual journey? Well, probably not many, until something goes wrong. You get a diagnosis, or you know, your job goes haywire. When you read and listen to these stories that Susan has in the book, you hit the stumbling stone. You ended up, falling flat on your face. You couldn't proceed. This is necessary suffering, and to wake us up, to say, hey, we need some help. And along the way, to learn how to clarify and metabolize the thoughts and emotions that arise at every step, to be able to see your thoughts, you have to be able to step back to this position known, but the Buddhists call it of awareness. Okay, that's the only. You can't see thoughts while you're thinking them. You can see thoughts, and that's one of the things we do in meditation is or contemplation. When we sit in formal meditation or contemplation, the idea is to just lay your thoughts aside. And the one thing you probably notice is how much they keep popping up, getting in the way. So that's for thoughts. Now, emotion that comes up, which over time, if you have a daily rendezvous with the beloved, you're sitting every day, some way, for some amount of time. These deep buried emotions in the unconscious will come up, and then you have to learn to experience them as they happen. The way to do first line of defense, or first line of relationship with emotions, is to feel them, and then to metabolize them. That's a key point, because emotions pushed down or emotions unfelt sort of coagulate and harden and block the flow of the spirit and grace in a body, in a human being. And so to metabolize an emotion, you have to be able to speak it. You have to be able to feel it and then express yourself on it. Maybe it's on paper. That's why Merton always wrote after he sat. And that's a practice I've picked up. I do 40 minutes of meditation in the morning. It's 30 minutes of the sitting, and then 10 minutes on the page. And, you have to express the emotion some way. And then it can be metabolized. And when you metabolize food, you get the energy of the food, and then what you don't need becomes waste, and gradually, that's how you live. You have to be able to metabolize food, and so this is spiritual food. It's not my job to correct or fix or heal anyone along the way. The great way itself will do all of that, just by hanging in there day by day. day by day, and being conscious. I'm going to take some time uh, for the soul. Uh, that's, I think, the next step, to really commit to that. That's what I mean by a next step program. You just decide, you commit, no matter how you feel, to show up. Uh, I mean, it's traditionally the morning is the thing, because how you wake up and how you get going, that momentum carries out through the day. As Rumi famously said, he said, "Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and afraid. Don't rush to your desk and begin working. No rush. Instead, take down a musical instrument. Make what you love be what you do." Musical instrument was his symbol for your spiritual practice. Make what you love be what you do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There's hundreds of ways to have this encounter with the beloved every morning. You have to keep working on it and find one that you truly love. Make what you love be what you do. So it's not like a kind of cookie cutter kind of thing. And it doesn't, I've got this kind of strange life where I have a lot of time, uh, not rushing off to work. I didn't always have this life for 30 years. I was getting up and going into a classroom at 8 o'clock. And during those days, I had to get up at 3 to do this, which was radical, of course, but it saved my life. I mean, I got up at 3 to do because I knew once I woke up Pam and the kids at 6, my life really wasn't my own. And I had better had my rendezvous with the beloved before that. Otherwise, I was running on fumes. And I learned that from the monks. I came up, we're having this conversation because I actually moved up to Kentucky to be by the monastery to learn more about the Trappists and Merton. And here we are. I don't know where we would be. I don't know where you'd be. I don't know where I'd be. So I learned that. I asked Gregory, who was my spiritual director, I said, they would get up at 2:30 and then they're chanting by 3:15. And I said, didn't that, how'd you ever get into it? He said, well, it's what's important to us. And we knew they did most of their chanting in the morning before the sun was up. They chant throughout the day, but that's where the serious work happened. And that's in most traditions. But what you do, these guys would chant sacred psalms and bow and all that stuff, and hear readings from the Old and New Testament. That might not be your thing. Make what you love be what you do. Because if you really love it, it's a lot easier to get up and do it. But you have to really somehow realize that this is the next step. If you don't have a kind of practice like this, some of you are showing up on Sundays. It's brilliant. But I mean, think about it. I'm reading this book called 4,000 Weeks, which if you get to be 80, it's about 4,000 weeks on this planet. Okay. That shook me up when I saw that, because a week doesn't seem like anything. A week ago we were here. It just seemed like yesterday. Okay. So 4,000 weeks. Well, in a week, if you sleep 8 hours a day, you got about 112 hours to work with. Okay. And, I grew up, we'd go to church as a Catholic for 1 hour a week. And that was supposed to be enough to get you going. Well, might have started something, but that's sort of thin. An hour a week. And then there's people who have no Sabbath or no religious practice. That'd probably be the majority. But 1 hour a week, it's too thin to really make a whole lot of progress. That's less than 1% of your total time. You're giving less than 1% to the higher power, to the energy that created all this. It's an energy of love and transformation. Merton wrote about that. He spent his whole life writing about the Christ, what he thought. We had the picture today of Jesus Christ, liberator, Black Jesus picture. But the Christ itself is this energy that's still going through. It's misused as it's been, many times. It still moved things along. It's moved things along. The Buddha had his own kind of energy uh, that's still booming. That bang, the Buddha bang is still banging. The Christ bang is still banging. You say, and can you tap into that? 1 hour a week? Well, if you can do 1 hour a week, that's good. If you show up here, that's great. But what are you doing the rest of the week? So that's really the next step, showing up every morning. And we're not talking about 40 minutes or an hour or whatever. We're talking about showing up. The ego demands, time. The soul is looking for faithfulness. That's the difference. It's a different way of measuring. If you can just show up, light the candle, take one breath in, one breath out, if that's all you can do on a day, that means a whole lot more than like every couple of weeks, sitting for 2 hours or something. I'd rather have the one breath every day because it's faithfulness. You're emitting, you're bowing. I always bow to start my sitting. I'm realizing there's something bigger than me. There better be, because I'm not big enough to deal with all this stuff I'm dealing with, and you aren't either. And then if you can do this, you'll eventually let go of all the other gods. And God of appearance, the God of achievement, the God of affluence, including the God of booze and whatever, these become our gods. The gods of being relevant, gods, of prestige. We got all these other gods that we spend a lot more time. When you consider you spend 1 hour in church and you spend, the average American spends 30 hours a week on TV. Well, that might say something about our current situation. TV just trying to sell you something in most cases. But if you could actually start to commit to bowing every morning. He said there's hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. He's talking about the Muslim bow, where you kneel on your mat and you kiss the ground with your forehead. That's humility of the best sort, you see. The first beatitude of Jesus is about humility. That's the start. That's the first step in AA. You're not humiliated. That's already happened, and that can have people try to humiliate you. But this is your own humility. You're saying, I need more. Where are you going to get that? Well, money, drugs, but you just want more of that stuff. You see, you'll let go of all the other gods on the great way from mind to heart. The last image is, I think, some of us haven't made the journey to mind. Our culture is not remotely rational. You wouldn't say the center of gravity is reason in our culture. No, it's somewhere downstream between, fear and tribalism, with a little dash of reason and words. And, we have ideology and all that, but it's not really reason. We wouldn't be in this fix if we could even just had reason. If we really had reason be the center of gravity. So we've got a ways to go. It's a long time coming, but we have to make our own contribution. And when you are moving from the mind, nothing wrong with the mind, nothing wrong with the body, nothing wrong with the mind. It's just not enough. Most people, the addiction starts in the mind. I'm not lovable. You have that thought. Boy, that's probably the start of most addictions. If you really knew me, you couldn't love me. Ooh, where did that thought come from? See, that's in your mind. So the next step. So ponder that. The fact that when we do this together, in a minute when we stop the speaking and we go into the silence and we all just have a chance to do this, it's quite a powerful thing to do it even once a week. And then with the group, that magnifies it. Hopefully, they'll give you the power to show up on your own. Again, not talking about time, we're talking about faithfulness. Finding some kind of ritual where you kneel and kiss the ground, as Rumi says, every morning before you start, or even just a simple bow to the day. Longer if you can get it. All right. Okay. Well, that's enough for today. This poem will be out on Monday as usual. So let's move ourselves into meditation.